Bayindir might have had a horror show as well versus Newcastle, but he could still be starting over Onana. Onana might not be dropped for just one game. Is this Manchester United's way of maybe forcing Onana out in the summer, pushing him to leave the club? Because some sources say he doesn't want to leave, other sources say he's open to leaving. What is going on? Or will Onana just start versus Lyon in the second leg and it's just a one match dropping to clear his head? Because while a lot of people were calling for Bayindir to start, and I think he deserved to start, I don't think Bayindir is better than Onana. I think both of them aren't good enough, if I was going to be totally honest. Zirkzee's season looks to be over. Potentially, if we get into the latter stages of the Europa League, maybe we can see Zirkzee back before the end of the season. No point rushing him back for Premier League games, but it looks like a season end for Zirkzee because hamstrings are normally around 6 weeks, and well, in 6 weeks' time, the season is basically over. So I don't think Zirkzee is going to play again this season, which is a shame because I think since Ahmad's been injured, Zirkzee's actually been our best attacker. Ahmad was our best attacker, got injured. Zirkzee was the best attacker, got injured. Now we have Garnacho and Højlund as the only attackers. Bruno's more of a midfielder. United now favourites to sign Delap. Interest in Xavi Simons. News on Mainoo and Garnacho still could be sold. Antony sale latest. Antony wants the move. And Rashford exit latest. But why United and Rashford's exit maybe is more complicated on paper when it comes to raising funds? So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup. Starting with this story coming in from Samuel Luckhurst and Steve Railston. Andre Onana doesn't know whether he will be recalled against Lyon on Thursday. Bayindir was unconvincing during his audition at St James's Park, but sources have indicated Onana is unsure if he will be recalled to the starting team to face Lyon at Old Trafford. So this is what's been said. While Bayindir wasn't great, Onana isn't confident that he's going to start again on Thursday. Now, we knew 2-3 days before the Newcastle game from Samuel Luckhurst and many sources like Chris Wheeler that Onana was probably going to be dropped. And then that was confirmed 2 days later that Onana was dropped and Bayindir was starting. Similar sources are now saying today he might not play versus Lyon. It might not just be a one-game dropping, which, I mean, I'd probably play Onana versus Lyon. I think if Bayindir put in a masterclass, I think it would be nailed on Bayindir starting because I think Bayindir was not the most convincing. And he might be a slightly better shot stopper than Onana, but him with his feet, his passing statistics were poor. I think because of our build-up issues, I think Onana will go back and goal. But sources are saying Onana himself is in doubt whether he's going to start versus Lyon. And, you know, these are the same sources that said last week that he probably wasn't going to start versus Newcastle. Continuing on into the news on Onana, it was said that although Onana hopes to regain his starting role in United's biggest game of the season, it's thought amorim could persist with Bayindir and overlook Onana for a successive game. So while Onana wants to play, lots of news reports saying he might not play. Now, talking of a player that won't play, sadly, Joshua Zirkzee. Andre Onana wants to stay at Manchester United this summer, despite interest from Europe and Saudi Arabia. This was said by Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt. Now, I don't fully believe this. I think if we qualify for the Champions League, Onana will want to stay because his wages will go up by 25%. We touched upon this in my live stream earlier, but considering he wants a pay rise and he was frustrated that last season he had to take a 25% pay cut because we weren't in the Champions League, I think he will only stay if we win the Europa League. You know, I think Onana would like to make it work at United. I think he's happy at United and wants to play at a higher level. But if Saudi come in offering him big wages, considering he's not in great form and got a new agent in to try and get him a pay rise at Manchester United, we discussed this in my live stream earlier, I think the fact that he'd have to go another season with, you know, taking a 25% pay cut because we're out of Europe, I think he could leave. I think if we win the Europa League, his wages got up 25%, he's going to be a lot harder to sell. But if we don't win the Europa League and we're not in Europe next season, he wasn't happy with his wages this season. That's why he got a new agent in. Now, the fact that he's been bad means he's not in a position to really negotiate a pay rise when he, maybe a couple of months ago, could have. Maybe his agent is looking for a move elsewhere. There has been links with Saudi, and we know from Laurie Whitwell, who spoke about this in detail earlier, there is a lot of interest from Saudi and Onana. Onana obviously brought in a new agent, although apparently that was more to do with finding a pay rise than a new club. But Manchester United will need £26 million to sell Onana because that is his book value. They'll be looking for at least £30 million and would replace him with potentially a younger goalkeeper, is what was said on Onana. But yeah, sorry, I said Joshua Zirkzee a second ago, and then it went back into another Onana story. But this is on Joshua Zirkzee, who probably won't play for us again. Joshua Zirkzee will miss several weeks with a hamstring injury that could rule him out for the rest of the season. I think he's ruled out for the rest of the season, unless we maybe get to the Europa League final or second leg of the semi-final where they're like, we're going to risk it. I think hamstring injuries normally take 6 weeks. You don't want to rush him back if it's just Premier League and there's nothing to play for. You know, there's a possibility Ahmad could be back later in the season, but United won't risk it if it's just Premier League, maybe Zirkzee. But if I'm going to be honest, I don't think Zirkzee is going to play for us again this season. Now let's continue on into some other stories. Chris Wheeler has said today that Manchester United now emerged as favourites to sign Liam Delap. He also mentioned that United would also like Xavi Simons, but a deal was unlikely without Champions League football. He mentioned this in a lot more detail, so go check out his article. But obviously Liam Delap, some reports say Chelsea's favourites, some reports say United favourites. We know from Romano, United and Chelsea are in for Delap. They're the two most in for him. Liverpool have an interest, Newcastle have an interest. You can't rule them out. Arsenal apparently are the least interested out of the top clubs, but basically every Premier League club has an interest in Delap. United can definitely offer him minutes, but they can't offer him European football. They can't offer him stability. Now, 30 million buyout clause for a striker of Delap's age with his goal-scoring record, it's a pretty good fee. If I had it my way, Gyökeres or Osimhen would be my first two picks. I think United needs someone who's 26, 27, a proven 20-goal season goal scorer. I think we need that. But honestly, Delap coming in for that kind of money, and if you bring him in with a proven goal scorer, I think it could work really well. But I don't want Delap coming in and then pairing him with someone unproven like a Dibbling. If you bring a Delap in and another proven goal scorer, I think it could make a huge difference. I think Manchester United are definitely interested in Delap. Obviously, very liked by Jason Wilcox, but we've got to compete with Chelsea. He's also a City Academy player, so will he have some kind of loyalty to City? Continuing on, it was said by Chris Wheeler that Manchester United will also try and raise funds through player sales with the future of homegrown talents of Garnacho and Mainoo up in the air. There's a lot of rumours about Mainoo, there's a lot of rumours about Garnacho. I think Mainoo will stay and sign a new deal. I think Garnacho's future is very much up in the air at Manchester United, if I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think he fully suits Amorim's system. I don't think he's fully happy, but Garnacho's a young kid. Even if he hasn't had the best season this year and hasn't progressed, I'm happy to give Garnacho next season to prove himself. Do you know what I mean? I'm very happy to go Garnacho till next season to turn it around because he's young, he's raw. If Garnacho was 26, he's out of here. If he's 24, he's out of here. But this is his second season at United. It's an unstable season where the experienced players aren't performing well. I'm willing to give Garnacho one more year, but if an offer does come in for £60 million, you've seriously got to consider that, especially when we need a lot of investment in this squad. And the best way that we can invest in the squad is by selling. So obviously that sale would be big. And with PSR, we might need to sell Garnacho to improve the team. But I know a lot of people want him gone, want him gone, want him gone. I'm willing to be patient with Garnacho. I don't want him gone. But if 60 million comes in for Garnacho, pure profit, with the other options out there that would be improvements, you have to look at it. Mainoo, I'm giving him another year. There is questions around how he fits in Amorim's system, but I think Mainoo could be a £100 million talent. Talking of £100 million, but he didn't live up to the €100 million, €100 million, not pounds. Antony. United have rejected Real Betis' approach to extend Antony's loan for one more season. United want to sell him permanently. Don't get bullied into loaning him out for another season. He's been good. If Betis qualify for the Champions League, they'll have the money. They like him. And as it was said here, Antony's made it clear he wants to stay at Betis. The Spanish side will speak to United about extending the loan deal. Don't extend the loan deal. Let's hope Betis qualify for the Champions League, win the Conference League, and they are very, very happy to pay that money to bring Antony in. 25 million. Antony will take a wage cut because he likes Betis. Hopefully, bish bash bosh, done deal, get Antony out. I don't want to be paying for Antony to go on loan. The worst case scenario is next season, Rashford's on loan, Sancho's on loan, Antony's on loan. No, we need them gone permanently, because if we don't get them gone permanently, we're not going to have the money to massively invest in the attack. It might be Delap and a 30 million 10 if we don't sell those players. We won't have enough money to actually invest in that attack. Continuing on into the final stories, Marcus Rashford. This was reported by the Mail. Aston Villa have yet to decide whether to keep Rashford at the end of his loan, with United only likely to make a 20 million profit after paying off a chunk of his 315k a week per contract if he makes the permanent move. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think that Marcus Rashford, if he wants out of United, if he wants a new environment, take a wage cut, leave the club. He's not going to do that. Wan-Bissaka didn't do that. Maguire wasn't going to do that. You know, we do that with all our players. We have to pay them out because we give them such high wages. He's well within his rights to say, I'll leave United for 40 million, but I want you to pay me 10 million wages. He's well within his rights to do that. But if we let a player of Marcus Rashford's caliber go and we're only making 20 million out of it, I know he's fallen out with Ruben Amorim, but we might as well have him around next season. We can't have him around next season because of what's gone on with Amorim. But I'm just saying, a player of Rashford's quality to only make 20 million out of that because we're paying his wages for him to go when we can't score goals. And let's be honest, Rashford walks in this lineup. I'm not a big fan of that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye.